What Black Dads Think is a show that provides a space for black fathers to listen and be listened to. This show was designed to demystify the image of black dads who, despite the reports in the media, are winning as both fathers and caretakers. Black dads are part of an important brotherhood with a unique perspective to share with other men. My name is Dr. Darren Earley, and for my first episode, I am honored to be joined by my 4 daughters and a few special guests. Come on in, have a listen. What's happening, family? I'd like to welcome you to What Black Dads Think. This is a podcast where we lift up the voices, the ideas, and the perspectives of black fathers, but we also try to have a dialogue that's raw and that's uncut. At least we try to, but we have a lot of different conversations, and this is season 1. We are just getting everything out the chute. We're excited. We'll have amazing guests and have a wonderful time to kind of talk and learn and grow together. But today, if you see, our studio is filled to the brim. I have my daughters and 3 of my 5 grandchildren, and we're here just to chop it up and just have some conversations, not so much just about what black dads think, but what the daughters of black dads think about black dads. So all that being said, we're going to jump right in. What I'd like to do is that, and you guys can do it in any order. First of all, thank you guys for coming. And it's hard to get everybody in the same room at the same time, so it's good that you guys are all in the same space. What I'd like you guys to do is just this. If you could introduce yourself, your name, your birth order, and just kind of what are you doing right now with your life, because all you guys are in different spaces, and just kind of talk a little bit. And bear with us. We got a little bit of wiggly ones. We have my second granddaughter, my only granddaughter, my second grandchild, Sakai, right here. And then we have a set of twins, one asleep, and you'll see one over there wiggling. But who wants to jump in and just introduce himself?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a pleasure to be here, Darren.
Oh my name.
She's ready.
Go ahead.
My name is Mishael Earley. I'm the 5th child, 4th daughter, so I'm the youngest.
All right, and what are you doing now?
I'm a current sophomore at the University of Southern California, studying global health with a Spanish minor on the pre-med track.
All right, cool. Thank you. And everybody else jump in. You don't have to be as specific about your locations, but you can tell us a little bit about what you're doing. Go ahead. Who's up?
I'm Melea. I am number 3. I am the second daughter, and I just graduated with my master's, and I'm working at a manufacturing company.
All right.
Okay, I'll go. My name is Melea Earley, clearly. I am the 4th child, 3rd daughter, and I'm a senior majoring in environmental studies, sociology minor.
At HBCU,
Oh, yeah.
right? I said don't give specifics, man. Y'all don't listen. Go ahead.
My name is Mariah. I am number 2, the oldest sister. That's my face.
Right.
Oh, wait.
That's her son's face also.
I work at a university in the Southern California area, and I graduated college a long time ago.
Okay. All right, cool. So this is the deal. We what we want to do. We're having this first season. We're having conversations with dads that have daughters, right? Not so much about dads with their relationships with their daughters, but tonight we're going to talk about just kind of dads and their interactions with their daughters. And so I want to ask a question. Why do you guys think that fathers are important in the lives of black girls? Anybody can speak to that.
I feel like she got points to say.
Just jump in. Let's go.
Worry about yourself.
Wait,
Right.
repeat the question.
Okay.
Oh, here's the question. All right.
Yeah.
Why do you think fathers are important in the lives of black girls?
I mean, I do have points to say.
Just go.
I think the first thing is when you have, well, I'll just speak for myself and what I've seen in my sisters. Like, because our dad is a certain way, when you meet people and see people, specifically in romantic spaces, like, there are certain things that you're just not, I don't want to say impressed by, but there's certain things that are expected, I'll say. And so it's expected to speak a certain way. It's expected to treat you a certain way. It's expected to, and so I think that black dads, or for black women, girls who become women, it's important to kind of just have a standard, like whatever, and or maybe an anti-standard, depending on how your dad is. But just to be able to be like, oh, I like that, I didn't like that, like this is what I want or I don't want, and then to be able to navigate with that.
So from your perspective, saying it kind of gives you a model,
Yeah.
either a good model or
yeah.
Okay.
Get something to scaffold on. Like,
Yeah, I would
Go
say
ahead.
like at least for like, because I am friends with a lot of women who have also father figures, so I feel like it is a very like usually that's the model everybody kind of goes off of. So like depending on how your relationship is with your dad, like that's kind of how you'll take your relationships with when you look at other men and like the standard that you will allow yourself to have. Or like the standard you're just like, no, y'all are not cutting it. Like this is what I'm used to. So like either meet it or be gone.
Okay, got you. Mel, you got thought?
I did, but I just lost it when you said my name.
All good. Jump back in when you feel like it. Go
Wait,
ahead.
actually, I think in just terms of like a leadership role, honestly, just like blackness, Loki, because it was very interesting from you being a very pro-black individual, but also like I feel like I don't know how to.
You do. Just say it.
But no, but I was just like no, but I was like from the mix of just like like from our family specifically, like you're Christian, you're a model of like a black Christian father, whatever. And I feel like on one hand, it's just like yes, like we're loving people as Christ loves them, but also like you don't shy away from the the racial component of things, which I feel like is necessary for the life that we live in general. So it's very interesting just being like, yeah, we're gonna show people all these loves, but also like, nah, people aren't really thinking about this because they don't have to think about it, and we're gonna acknowledge that as well.
Hold
Regardless
that
of the
thought one
spaces
second,
we're
Mel,
in.
because I want to pivot. I want you to speak to that because you said living in the space you lived in. We grew up in an environment, and Mishael, I'll let you talk about this in a second. Either way, but we grew up in an environment that was predominantly white.
Who's we?
You know, well, y'all did. All right. I grew up in South LA. I know where I grew up at. All right. But no, seriously, Mel, what was that like, you know, just as for you as young women, you know, trying to kind of navigate, you know, and find your space and whatever, growing up in that space that was predominantly white, coming from a family that was, that I'm not going to say pro-black, but that was proudly black and then very biblical. What was that like for you? Go ahead.
It was interesting, at least for me. It kind of manifested because we went to church. We went to church with a lot of black people, and that's where a lot of at least for me, I will say that's where a lot of our our original socialization was with several different sets of black Christian role models and black authority figures. I didn't really have to like being in a space where I grew up where I was surrounded by white teachers and white authority figures. I was never really looking at them for any help at all because I was like, why am I gonna ask you when I already have my like the people that I respect, the people that know what I'm going through, the people that have more insight into what I need from like a Christian standpoint, from a black standpoint. Yeah, I didn't really feel the need to. I went through, I think, before college and especially in college, never really expecting a lot from white authority figures because I didn't like. My friends. I used to say this to my friends, but it was typically that what was it? It was that it's like they can't disappoint me because I wasn't expecting anything from them in the first place. All they can do is pleasantly surprise me. When it's very often that like you have a teacher that doesn't understand you, or somebody makes a foul comment, or somebody treats you sideways, looks at you sideways, like, or just thoroughly does not understand where you're coming from and why you're feeling the things that you're feeling. Like I wasn't really expecting that from them in the first place, and anything they did was at most annoying and irrelevant, but it came with being in the spaces that I was in. And then also I think at least for me, because growing up in a family that is very proudly black, and talks a lot about black things and about Christian things, I feel like that I went through, even though I was one of the only black kids in pre-college or in college, like I was always finding myself or putting myself in black spaces.
Okay, cool.
Or collecting all the black people.
Mish, what were you going to say, bro?
I would say that like having a biblical basis definitely like set the framework for a lot of things, because I feel like from that, like that what's always kind of been ingrained is like, oh, you're called to be different, like you're set apart. And I feel like that was just kind of more evident being black in a majority white space, because it was just kind of like, and I think the fact that, well, from one side of it being like you guys being like kind of instilling the fact that, okay, yeah, you have to work twice as hard to get half of what they have, but also like striving for excellence, like you are going to be very good at what you're going to do. I think that was always just kind of like, and especially coming from like a line of siblings that kind of like set the pace, like always just being in class like, oh, you're an early, like, oh, I'm so glad I get to have another one of you guys, like blah blah blah. I feel like that definitely was like, and I think I probably didn't realize that until like later middle school, definitely in high school, but just kind of like, not like, oh, I'm not like y'all, but like I feel like I'm definitely like, we're gonna live a different experience, but that's fine because I'm on a different trajectory. Like I'm called to be different than the people around me. So yeah.
Cool. And so Mariah, I want you to speak to this because you were part of the shift. But before we get there, Melea, only one, went to HBCU. And when you think in terms of your experience growing up in the community we grew up in, and contrasting that with where we are, because I want to get to some deeper conversations as Salah is doing his thing over there. But what was that transition for, moving from from a predominantly white place where we grew up to going to HBCU? Was that easy? Was it hard? What was that transition like for you?
I think it was a pretty relatively smooth transition. I think because growing up, well, for starters, I feel like being at Howard, there's two ways that it can kind of go. Some people are trying to find themselves and trying to find their blackness and being like, oh, I grew up in a white area. I want to go be surrounded by black people, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes that's hard for them because it's just like you don't really know the identity that you have coming in. But I would say for me, because like our family was very pro-black, like although we weren't in a lot of black spaces, like I feel like I kind of knew who I was going in as like an African-American woman, like from a majority white space. But I would also say because we had family in a lot of other spaces that like we prided ourselves on being around, and like majority of my friends and closest, my best friends and like my closest friends that I still have right now, they're either black or brown. So it's just like that's something that like I was okay with going to school because it wasn't really a super huge shift because I'm like, this is what I've always been around. Like I knew who I was going into college, so I feel like that didn't really affect me in that way because I've seen like some people that I know, or like even just like being in such a huge large area, like that really is two trajectories that it can go for being at like an HBCU. But I would say that for me, like I think I kind of embraced it a lot more, knowing where I was going, like, and knowing where I was coming from as well. I think it really didn't really bother me. I think it only made me like more excited at the fact that like where I was at is such a like place that like a lot of people can really find themselves and like do good for the long run. And I would say even in the sake of like being at an HBCU, like I'ma always come back and be like tell everybody like if you can get that experience, because I feel like it really is a life-changing experience, especially for someone who is black. I feel like that's just something that like everybody needs to experience. So yeah, I feel like that's how I feel about that.
Okay, cool. So Mariah, and this is not where I planned on going, but it kind of came up. Your situation was a little different because you started in one space and then you ended in another space. And so when you were born and when you were younger, you went to a very diverse school. We were living in Compton, which was a very ethnically diverse space that we were in, and then we moved to where we live now. How was that for you, and did it have any long-term kind of impact on your shaping and who you became and whatever?
Any long-term impact?
Well, I mean, you don't have to go that deep, but just let me know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, it kind of sucked. For the story, my brother graduated elementary school, and he was in 5th grade, and I was in 3rd grade. And my parents decided that they didn't want to drive an hour and a half to take us to school anymore. So we went to the local school. I was in the 4th grade, and he was in the 6th grade. And from my perspective, I don't know. I guess he could tell his own story, but it kind of sucked. It was just culturally like night and day, like down to literally like the kickball games. Like at the school that I went to previously, kickball was like baseball, and you kick the ball and you run around the bases. And then at the school that I ended up at, you just kick the ball in the air. And then I got yelled at because I was like, this ain't kickball. And they were like, no, you mean kickball, baseball. Like, no, I don't. So that was like the cultural shift was very clear. And I think for me, it became almost like like black people talk about code switching, like it became like very apparent that like these are two different worlds, and not because of money or not because of like anything like superficial. It's literally cultural. Like you could have brown people, black people in the same space, and they just are very different than black people would be in the other space, depending on, you know, how steeped in that culture they were. I don't remember the rest of your question.
That's fine.
Okay.
No, because this is the deal. Us moving out to where we moved out to, right?
Well, I'd always lived there.
You know, you say it again?
I'd always lived there. So they moved out in 1998. So I was 3 years old. So
You just didn't go to school. there.
Yeah, exactly.
But okay, so one of the things, and we want to shift into our next space is just this. As we shift into this next space, one of the things that I think about is the fact that all of you, I mean, one of you played water polo, all three of you played club soccer, two of you played Division I soccer, and these are things that we probably wouldn't have. What'd you say?
I also played club soccer.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you played. I think about
You
you in
didn't
water
like it.
polo more, right?
I didn't like it, but I played.
Okay, that's fair enough. But when I think about, you know, just kind of access to these sports and the things that we did, those are some memories that were shaped, and a lot of them had to do with where we grew up. You know, I wouldn't have exposed you to soccer if we weren't living in that space.
Yeah, that's fair.
Water polo wouldn't have been something that we would have thought about if we weren't living in that space. But you know, it's about that. But here's the question that I have is that when you think about growing up, and you think about growing up with me as your dad, okay, what's one of the fondest memories that you have growing up?
You coaching us. I feel like, at least for me, especially like just barely finishing the last of my sport that I've been playing for like 16, 17 years. Like that's like first memory and first pictures, like you coaching us.
Okay, it was fun for me. I enjoy coaching, and I know that one of the reasons why I did coach is, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like with Micah, you remember. Wow.
Aw.
When Michael was playing, he had a bad experience with a coach, right? And he's like, Dad, I don't ever want to play soccer again. And I had a student in my class. His name was Jonathan Williams. He played for like the national team and stuff like that. And Jonathan was like, Mr. Earley, if you're gonna have your kids play soccer, you got to keep them playing soccer, because I was allowed to see the world playing soccer, right? And so I was like, okay, they got to play. So Mike was like, Dad, he had a horrible coach. I don't want to play anymore. And I told Mike, I said, man,
Aw.
shut up. I said, man, if you keep on playing, I said, you'll never have that experience again. I said, because I'll coach you, right? And so I coached him, and we know that Micah's soccer wasn't.
Actually did like it was a coach, but it wasn't.
But the point being is just this: is that it gave me an opportunity to just kind of see that, because that was the first time I had coached, and then from there I was like, okay, I'm gonna end up coaching everybody, you know. And the only person that got the less coaching was probably me towards the end, but no. And so that's kind of how that coaching thing goes. All right, but back to the question: fondest memories growing up of our interaction, not so much just growing up in general.
Mine
Be
has
quiet,
nothing
boy.
to do with mine has nothing to do with that, and I don't think they have any of this, because when I was younger, my dad was a teacher, and so he had summers off, and that was best. Like we used to go outside, we used to go swimming, we used to go to the museum. We used to grill corn and like hot dogs, like. That was best.
What a time. I can't imagine that one. Because actually, something that I remember is my dad was in school.
So he was gone.
He was gone.
But that was like middle
That would
school,
be
right?
the worst.
Yeah.
She-
It was
she-
just-
she-
No,
That's the time I remember.
No, high school.
I was telling my friend about this one time. There was one, like, he was talking about, oh, California has earthquakes, and I was like, yeah, but like earthquakes aren't nothing for real.
Oh,
You
I
remember that? Yo. There was earthquake. No. You weren't even there.
You wanted
There was one.
It
It was like me and Melea were like just young enough to stay at home alone by ourselves, bro. Let me No. Let me tell you. This man, he's like, all right, I gotta go to work.
I was there.
You were not there, bro.
No, you weren't there. You were gone somewhere.
Because we were all there.
Maybe something.
Me and my
Bro, you were
Go
not
ahead.
there.
That was a different answer. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish the
Literally,
story. Let her finish the
He's
story.
leaving out the back door like, all right, bye. I just remember us being like, no, Dad, wait. He's like, I gotta go to work. And me and Melea are like crying out the door. Literally.
It was like right after the
Yes,
earthquake.
bro. We were like,
It was right after the earthquake. It was right after.
Like trying to get under the thing. And it was like,
He's like, I gotta go.
they're trying to get under doorways, and
That
then you know,
was
dad's
There was
Mel,
another time where it was
memories,
all five of
memories.
us, and there was an earthquake, and Melea
Oh, yeah.
got so scared.
Oh, that was the other
And Mike
one.
was clouding her for like the rest of the week.
But the dad also left. The dad also left.
So go ahead, Mel. Fondest memory growing up.
Breakfast for dinner. You would you would ask me what we wanted for dinner, and then we make pancakes, and I enjoyed that every day.
That was kinda your thing,
That was
yeah.
that was my favorite.
Because you would still eat breakfast for dinner now.
Breakfast is like we don't eat cereal together at midnight. What are you talking
No,
about?
I got you. Okay, cool. So, yeah.
Wait, did Missy give a memory?
Remember I
Yeah,
told
that
you guys, did Miss you what? Yeah.
Oh,
Did you
That
go
was
memory?
no, that was a
Wait.
memory. That was just
No. You gotta find that. That might have been more stressful. Find his memory, man.
I feel like there's a lot. I feel like you made, I don't know, like you were just a really fun dad. Even my friends now at college will be like, yo, like the way you talk to your dad is so fun. I'd be like, that's my dog. Like, I'd be like, what? Oh, like when I see him, I'm like, oh, that's my dog. And I just feel like, yeah, like I feel like, I don't know, group trips, but I feel like even like every day, like you just like, even like you just being in the kitchen, like you just throw random stuff in a bowl and be like, all right, now like, let me cook. And it's
I got
like,
one
bro.
for her.
Oh my God. No. It's this. It's not Patty. It's this right
She
here.
used to crumple Dad's pockets and see if he had candy.
She would hear the sound of
And to
candy in
this
my
day, he brings me
She
candy.
wouldn't hear it. She wouldn't hear it. She would walk in the door and she would go.
Pat him down. Right when he comes
And
out.
what was in those pockets? A little
Candy.
almond Snickers for me. Oh, Baby Ruth, thank you.
Fair enough. All right, cool. So I asked Melody this. I actually ask all of you this.
Yikes.
Until we had to stop going there, right? Okay, that's another show, right? All right, check this out. Okay, so is there any question about anything that you would have wanted to ask me growing up that you didn't get a chance to ask me about anything?
I would say I want to know what you were like. Like, I mean, we both went to the same school, but like in a different time. What was your experience like? Because I know like my uncles be alluding to certain things, but I'm like, what was you? Who were you really like?
So a lot of and it's funny because when you say your uncle, you mean like Uncle D and Uncle Troy and all the rest of them?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that was probably, I probably was the kind of guy that I would want you to have as a friend but not date.
Yeah, we know.
Because, to have as a friend but not date. Because because sincerely, I cared about my friends, but in college I was dating on a different mission.
What fraternity?
In,
Uh-oh. Next.
Disrespectful to all the Omega men.
I
out here.
mean, there's a colloquial term for the Omega man. That's a little bit akin to what you're saying. That's all I'm saying.
What that mean? You mean Q's?
No.
You mean
What's the second part
the
of that?
bros?
The Q
No.
what?
The bros?
The Q what?
We're moving on.
right.
So anyway, so that was kind of that kind of is kind of what it is. But then also, I knew a lot of people, and it's funny because my friends will tell me now, you know so and so, but I don't know if I knew a lot of people or if I was just kind of, I like people, and so I just hung out with a lot of people, and I saw them in different spaces. But yeah, that would have been me on the campus. Anybody else a question?
Yuck.
Shut up.
Wait,
Any question that do you have a question that you would have asked, you wanted to ask me that maybe you never asked me?
I have another one.
nah, I'll ponder.
Go.
it.
I feel like what type of man could you see? Well, you're married already, so it doesn't count. The rest of us, like, I feel like what type of man could you see us with? Or like, would you want to
Well, that's two different questions.
ideally?
Well, okay. So I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's facts.
For me, it's important, and me and Mom used to have, when we moved out to that space where it wasn't a lot of black people, I mean, I was under the impression that my daughters may come home, they may fall in love with somebody that's not African American. All right, and I just had to kind of come to grips with that. But the reality, not that that's a bad thing, but that's just
A thing.
it's just a thing, right? But what's important, and when I think about the men, that I want somebody that loves Christ. I've learned some things along the way too. I want somebody that loves Christ. I want somebody that that loves you immensely. But I also need to make sure that as a dad, I've learned some things about screening. I've learned some things about what questions to ask and stuff like that. So that's important too. But I mean, I just think somebody that I think that you get along with. I think that's important. But that they need to love God and then also, you know, we just kind of keep it 100. So I don't need anybody.
Yeah.
I was
That's
saying
not
that.
really trying to keep it 100. It's like if
It's
that person has to be babysat by you.
Yeah.
That was one thing about your mom, right? One of the reasons. I mean, I love your mom, and that was just a whole other conversation. No. But I'm saying,
He's like, however.
no. But one of the things that was important is that when mom was around our family, my family, I didn't have to babysit her.
Oh yeah.
You know, she could kind of interact with mom. She could interact with my
hang.
cousins.
Yeah,
She could,
relationship.
with
Yeah, she
grandma,
can
whatever.
hang, yeah.
And I was like, cool. So I could like leave and come back or whatever. And even when we weren't dating and we weren't on good terms, she would still stop by and holler at my mom.
She like she
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
quote, "I
Yeah.
liked your mom better than I liked you for a long
yeah. So
time."
so when I think in terms of that, it needs to be somebody that can hang out with me
When
when you're not there. Yeah, when you're
that's
not
fair.
there. All
I
right.
feel like
Come here, baby. Come on.
also like as for our parents, I think my friends have asked me this, but as for our parents, I feel like you guys have like less requirements than our siblings would. Cause like I feel like if it was like, you know, a man of God treat me right, whatever, like my parents like regardless of what he looks like, you know what I'm saying? Like my siblings, bro, as soon as he gets home, like they clown him in the group chat talking about, oh, rah.
Yeah,
Don't let
that's
Micah
facts.
come around
That's
him. It's like,
facts.
But you know what?
you gotta be on the
But
ride.
see,
You
this-
gotta be
I picked the wrong one in between two people.
Oh,
He's not even cute.
Bruh.
But
Get it together.
this is one of the things that I think is important, though.
I have a
And we talked
wonderful
about this,
personality.
is
Didn't.
that you guys are going to be with each other longer than you're going to be with us.
Yeah.
So I think that you guys' ability to kind of talk and push and check each other, and Mariah had to tell me, because sometimes I want to step in and fix it. You know, and we even had the situation. Yeah, all right. So, but
It worked a lot of the time.
A lot of the time.
and the only reason I want to fix it, my buddy said this a while back. He said, parents are only happy as their most unhappy child. And that for me, that's why I always like, okay, I want to fix it. But sometimes I got to learn, I got to step back and let God do what he's going to do. All right. Anyway, anybody else?
Oh, I do have another one.
Girl, you're the question champ. Go, what you got? Go.
she been holding on to these.
You and mom, like you and mom. I don't know you guys is. Well, I guess it's like I don't know
Your
if it's
last
more
story?
so for you. Yeah, like people always like, oh, how'd you parents meet? But I'm like, I know one.
gotta talk to the
specific
nanas.
instance,
Are you serious?
gotta
and
talk
I
to the
don't-
nanas.
Great thing. And
I
didn't
don't
run
think
that
you
back
guys
then.
date or anything. Like I don't know what happened. I
You
just
gotta
know
talk to
in
the
the end, you know, they
nanas.
Okay.
was together
They be-
and now we're here.
Okay,
They
so
be
I'm gonna
coming
give
with
it to you
the
real
tea.
quickly. I'm gonna give it to you real quickly. All right. So me and Uncle Troy, he introduced me and mom, and what he basically was like to see. I was in 8th grade, mom was in 7th grade. He's like, I got this girl I want you to meet, right? And so they were both student council members or whatever. They were going on a trip to Magic Mountain. He was in charge of one bus, she was in charge of another bus. I was like, where's this girl? Where's this girl? And I couldn't find her. So I mean, I was like, I don't see this girl. Where you know where it is? So then when the buses passed, he pointed to your mom. He's like, that's the one. I was like,
Y'all didn't
oh,
even go to the
okay.
same school. Why was you all? Wait, what?
No, they didn't go to the same school.
Because Auntie Johnny was the sponsor and she worked there, and so
And
I
that's
got
why
Connects.
Yeah, I just
Connects.
got in. Yeah, it was
Okay.
connection.
That's what
It
I'm
was
saying.
connection.
That was not.
So long
Black
story
elite.
short, that's how we met, and then we hung out a lot. I took her to my prom. I'm thinking, okay, we
years later.
vibing.
Like,
Wait, on the
it's like
bus?
5 years later, like 4 years later.
Yeah,
You're
but
like, oh,
we hung
we
out
hung out
on
on
the
the
bus.
bus.
We just hung out.
Wait, yeah, on the bus. I've been telling that with the story.
That's mom's story that I said I'm gonna marry that girl. I may have thought that. I don't think I said
That's
that.
what Troy told us and told
That's
her.
what they saying.
Well.
Who's saying that?
I mean, you said it.
Yeah. Okay, whatever
He
the
said it
case
to Troy,
is.
and
Point
Troy
being is
said it
just
to
this. 5 years later, 4 years later, I took her to my high school prom. The next year I went to college. I thought she was going to take me to her high school prom. And
She
I
did
didn't.
Not wrong, but he
And
sorry.
did it.
I didn't get the call.
And did
He's like, at that point, and then I was
I
vibing.
don't go backwards.
I was at Howard. She was still in touch with Troy, keeping in touch. And then I started dating this other girl. And then I came home and I was like, hey, I think this girl I'm going to marry. Mom was excited, and then she excited for me because she truly was my friend.
What
But then
fraternity
at that
was
same
it
time, I was trying to hit on Mom. So she got mad. She was like, you're foul. And so then we didn't talk for a little while.
Oh,
then
you didn't even know she was mad at you?
Hold
Mom was
on,
mad at
man.
you.
Let me finish the story so I can get out of this
How long
segment.
was it? I
All
know
right?
it was like some years.
It was like 4 years.
So wait, so
a little
listen.
while.
So
Let her
then
finish,
I
let her
went.
finish.
So I became a believer in the fall of '86, and then in the summer of '86, she was like, okay, he finally got his head right. So then we still were talking, hanging out, whatever. Oh gosh, it's a long story.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It ends here. All right. I became a believer. We started dating again, and then I was like, before I mess up, I'm gonna be by myself before I, because at that point I really fallen in love with the Lord, and I really wanted to do what God had called me to do, and so I was like, I'm not gonna violate this opportunity. Long story short, I told Mom I was living in an apartment. I called her over. I looked her in the face. I said, "You know what? I'm convinced you are not the one." I'm thinking in my mind. Wait. I'm thinking in my mind. I'm thinking in my mind that she gonna break down, cry like the movies.
She said, "Boy,
But y'all know your mother. Y'all know your mother, right?
She said, "Thank you." What's that close to my man? Thank you.
And literally, she was like, "Oh, really?
Thank you.
All right, talk to you later." She got up and she left. Right. About 3 months later, I started missing her.
What are you supposed to say at that point? Like
Crying
for what?
Cry?
For what?
I thought that's what was gonna happen, y'all.
He said, "Oh, she gonna see."
So anyway,
You had a good support I am.
listen. 3 months later, we were taking some kids from church to Magic Mountain. I started missing her, and 3 months later, we were taking kids from church to Magic Mountain. I called her. I said, "Hey, do you want to go to Magic Mountain? We're taking these kids." I said, "Strictly platonic." We just, and she was like, "All right, cool." We went to Magic Mountain. I had the most fun up to that point, I've ever had with her. And then at that point, then it was just a matter of, will you marry me?
Okay,
And we were,
I have a question.
Yes,
Why
what's
did
the
she take you
question?
back?
What?
Why did she take you back?
God.
Divine intervention.
No. Well, yeah, I would say that's that. But it's not about. It wasn't about her taking me back. It's like, we were cool, but then we went to Magic Mountain. We both enjoyed it. And look at me. I thought you said you wasn't. Hey, why is she taking me back?
Girl, boo. You look like
Y'all
that.
would disappear. If she didn't take me back, y'all would be like in one of the movies.
I'm just a little confused.
Whatever. So that's the story, Melea. All right.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Last couple of things. As a dad, and this is always a hard question to ask, and I've asked you guys some of this before, but as a dad, what's one thing that I did right as a dad, and what's one area as a dad where I've taken an L?
I have one because
Wait, you got to give me both.
Oh, both.
Maybe not at the same time. Whatever.
okay,
Go ahead, give me
I
what you
have
got.
A good one. I have a good one.
But
first.
I want to hear both.
Okay, I'll
You gotta
think
get
about
slap
that
and
one.
pat. Come on. Like,
I was just gonna pat first. The slap was gonna come later.
All right.
So I think my friend asked, or I think like
Did
we
you
were
say
playing
you
a
gonna
game.
slap first?
she said
I
pat
said I was gonna
first.
pat. The slap's coming. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Okay.
So, I was gonna say that something that I really appreciate was like anytime that we would argue, like when we were younger, or like something would happen, like, and like if I ended up crying or like one of us ended up crying, and like you were like angry or something, like you would like very more often than not you would come back like after you had settled down and apologize and be like, listen, like I was wrong, like you would just be like, I was upset, blah blah blah, like blah blah blah, I'm sorry, do you forgive me? And it's like,
Yeah, to take your accountability.
yeah, but it's like I feel like now
parents do
that
that.
makes it like
A lot of
a
parents do
lot
that.
That's what I'm
easier
saying.
for me. Okay. That makes it
Don't forget.
that makes it a lot easier for me to come back and apologize like after I've like settled down, to just like kind of like take a step back and be like, okay, like I might have lost my cool in that moment, but like okay. I might have lost my cool in that moment, but like taking accountability and like apologizing and like kind of like making efforts to like mend that relationship, because it's like, okay, like yeah, we're arguing in this moment, but that's not worth like letting it fester. That's not worth letting it build on that. So yeah, I really
You ever thought about
appreciate
why I did that?
Because you felt bad.
That's not the only reason. That's primary reason. But why have you ever just thought about why I would do that?
No.
Because mom talked to you.
Did your
That was really crazy. That was really crazy. That wasn't true.
Well, okay, one thing is just this is that, and Mike had told me this before, and Mike, his statement was, he had said something crazy one day. I was like, man, I would never have said that to my dad. He said, you and your dad didn't talk like that. And then I still didn't like what he said, but that made sense. But it made sense, right? But this is the part. The reason why I did that is because I think, when you wrecked the car, it was the same kind of thing, Mariah.
Which one?
No, the truck. All right, but the point being is just this is that for me, it's always been important that whatever happened, as much as it depend on me, that I left you guys whole. And not left you like with a hole, but left you whole, right? And so sometimes if I get convicted and I gotta apologize, I don't have to apologize. But if I didn't apologize, I wouldn't be leaving you whole. And so what I have is that conflict wouldn't have grown our relationship. That conflict really would have chipped away at it. And so every time we have a conflict, because you're gonna have conflict with your kids and your parents and something, whatever, when you leave somebody whole, you can always grow from that. So that's always been my intention in terms of doing that. But anybody else?
I got a slap. I got a slap
She
for
said she
her
got a
pat.
slap.
Okay, go ahead.
And then I got
Go
a
ahead.
pat. I got a slap. And then I got a pat.
Go
Wait,
ahead.
but before that, I think that as a kid, definitely, like it was less about growing our relationship and more about, well, maybe as adult, I don't know which direction it is, but like it's more about like seeing that you don't have to be right all the time to be respected. Like the amount of respect that we have, I know, for you, and kind of just like being able to be the boss and then also have enough humility to come back and apologize and to like really humble yourself like in front of these people who like
Don't need
you know
it.
what I mean, like
Technically, we're chill.
or so to speak, like, or some people could say like I think it really kind of set a tone for how we moved in the world. And
Was that a slap or a pat?
that this isn't the slap yet. So
I'm getting there. Slap is coming.
I'm getting there.
She's setting it up. Right?
It's a very small slap because we talk about it all the time. But the whole like don't cry thing, like I don't know, man. I'm not.
Why are
with
you
it.
upset? You said why you're upset, and he's like not hearing it.
I've explained to you.
No. And why I get it, but also like, especially and what we I feel like at this point have explained, like, especially at home, it's like if we're not gonna be able to cry anywhere, this is the place. You know what I mean? Like this is probably like, you know what I mean? Like knowing your audience, knowing the kind of rules of the space that you're in, especially as a Black person, especially as a Black woman, like yeah. But I'm at home, like, bruh, leave me alone.
So for context, folks, I don't know if it's a rule or a philosophy or a perspective.
Philosophy. It's a
I'm
philosophy.
like save your tears for stuff that matters. And sometimes what I do, I kind of overdo that because if it don't matter to me, I'm like, save your tears, but when it may matter to them. And oftentimes, emotions come out in tears. And that's the deal though, is that I'm not emotionless. I just, for me, it's really important to manage my emotions. And maybe that's because of the house
Gen
I
X
grew up
Black
in.
man?
Huh? No, it's not so much. It's not just a Black man. It's because of the house I grew up in, and so it's like if you're gonna navigate rough times, you got to be able to manage your emotions. And
Yeah,
for
with Great
some
Depression
people,
parents.
but say it again.
With Great Depression parents?
No,
Shut
actually,
up. Oh my God.
like
No,
shut
they
up.
actually
You're
were not
fine.
Great Depression. I guess they were Great
For
Depression
sure
parents.
is.
You're
I'm
right.
telling you.
Real
I'm
bad.
telling you.
But the point being is just so
grandpa.
I think sometimes for some people, not for everybody, when they can't tears are a sign of the fact they can't manage their emotions. Whereas that's not for everybody, and that's kind of it. But I'm feeling you on the slap. All right, I'm feeling you on the slap. Anybody else?
Oh,
you do
I had a
yours.
pat. I just don't want to forget.
I think my pat would be like, especially as growing up.
Wait, how y'all do the mom slap and pat thing? That's her thing.
You asked
Slapping.
for it.
I know, but I'm saying, but y'all use the slap and the pat. Now it's like it's the nomenclature here. We're gonna slap.
Okay.
I'm gonna pat. Go ahead, man.
Anyway, cause I mean, like, I do have two, but like she had hers first. But I could say, as someone who had to like deal with like certain issues, like being in college and everything, I would say that the fact that I know you're more likely to be the one who's taught us grace, I think, because I think both you and mom do teach us grace, but I do feel like that is like one of your things that like you're very like, it's very important that we extend grace to other people and just like that. I feel like that philosophy. So I feel like that is something that like growing up, especially wanting to deal with certain situations in a very non-holy way sometimes and act a certain way and act the way that like I truly like would have in one point of my life. I feel like just remembering that like I need to like make sure I'm like extending grace to other people. I feel like that's made me a better person. Yeah, I would say that. And then like my pat or my slap, I would say kind of similar to what Mariah said. I think it's like it's like both and, because like the whole like don't go in the tank, especially for like
That's a book, right? You know that book's coming out.
yours.
Legit, yeah.
Oh.
Called Don't Go to the Tank. Legit. It's a children's book. But go ahead.
But yeah, I would say that I think goes like both and because of for one instance, just like not being able to. Well, sometimes Mariah's like, oh, like you can't cry, or like I know when certain things frustrate me, usually that's where my tears come from rather than sadness. So like if I'm overwhelmed or frustrated and like can't handle a situation that I want to because it's not the right way to handle a situation, like that's where my tears usually come from. And I feel like sometimes like having to be like, okay, don't go in the tank for that when I really just like want to blow up on everybody and everything.
Crash out.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's just both because sometimes it's just like, well, are my feelings valid? Because like I should be able to respond.
So when I say don't go in the tank, sometimes I feel like I'm invalidating your feelings.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I would feel like, but I feel like in the grand scheme of things, and like I know that like okay, that's like for the grand scheme of things. But yeah, sometimes it's just like dang, like sometimes I just need to cry and like be sensitive and just, or else I will like try and hit something. You know, like just
Yeah.
you know, balance, a little bit of balance.
All right, fair enough. Mel, go ahead, baby.
Sorry, you're getting a double slap. But
Ooh.
not I'm not giving you.
Oh,
two
you
slaps,
just
but
back to
flat
back.
on
I
slap,
thought
flat
she was
on
like
Oh,
that.
she's like, nah.
Go ahead.
When you would say when we would ask for something and like you would get, and then we ask you like multiple times because it hadn't been done yet, and like on one hand I know that like it's pressing you, but if something didn't get done and we asked again and you were just like, I heard you the first time, like da da da, like, or it's like I'm not gonna do it if you keep asking. That, bro,
I needed time.
that was not the
Like my
best.
mom.
And I think I was thinking about it, and I feel like I don't know if that's why, but I think sometimes it's hard for me to ask for help and not be the helper. I don't know if it's always because of that, but I was like, I think because like how highly, I think I was like, remember when you came to my church and I was like, oh yeah, God gave me a good example of a heavenly father on earth, like which is like good,
That was a bar.
like but like there was
Wait,
times
what'd you
where I was
say?
like,
So that was a bar.
that was a bar.
Go ahead.
Right.
But I think that I think I've seen that like in my relationship with God, it's hard for me to like continuously ask. And I don't know if that's necessarily a reason why, but it's like I'm just like, oh, it's like you know what I need or whatever, but I know it's like we're supposed to come to God.
Right.
without
You
our
know, that's
request.
fine.
I'm like, I
That's
can't
facts.
be.
You know the desires of my heart, bro.
If I be talking about something too much, I feel like God don't want to hear it.
And
Yeah,
the
'cause
deal
then
is
I feel
just-
like I'm being, like-
that's a problem that I definitely want to own, because I'm learning right now that in my walk of faith I don't ask enough, and maybe that's part of
Yeah, mine's both, yeah.
you know what I've kind of
Generational.
negatively pouring into you guys, like stop asking. I heard you. I'm gonna answer. But God tells us to do things differently, right? And so God tells us, He gives us an example of the person that's knocking at the door, even when it's late at night. It's like, so if you keep on pressing, they're eventually gonna open the door and give you what you need, right? So I think that's a fair slap in the sense of something that. Maybe if you would have told me you were 7, I would have worked. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
Something that
think
I
just-
am working on,
my
but I
brain wasn't
totally
working. I had
get
a
it.
seizure.
Say it again?
My brain wasn't working. I had a seizure.
No.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
She was recovering.
I don't think that's a reason, but neither here nor there. But no, I think that's a very good point. And see, the deal is just this: is that even for me to ask you guys this right now, and I don't know if you guys remember, but when I got that Father of the Year award from Omega Sci-Fi,
When did you get that?
this is like about 10 years ago, maybe. All right, and so
Yeah.
all you guys were at home,
I
but
was like
before.
13.
Matter of fact, it may have been a little bit longer, but before I went and got the award, I actually came and asked all of you guys.
Do you think
You
I'm
know,
Father of the Year?
No, I didn't ask you that. I did not ask you that. I asked you just, I asked you a similar question. What's my strength, what's my weakness, right? Because I think that part as a parent, it's important to grow. And I think that the fact that everything you guys say to me doesn't always feel good, but I know it's coming from a place of, I know my daughters love me. So they ain't just saying it to kind of shake salt, they're saying it because this is what we've kind of built, and it's important for me to be able to kind of hear from you guys in those spaces. So that's really important. So we're gonna shut
add
down here in a
something?
second. Go ahead, baby, go.
I feel like that also goes both ways, because I feel like definitely a lot of the things that you guys have instilled in us, or like just like, yeah, kind of ingrained in us from a young age, especially, well, they're like already, like she's out of college, Mariah's out of college, like she's done, but like definitely going through college,
So
I'd
you're
be
the
like,
last person in college. Huh?
yeah.
All right, keep going.
definitely going through college, I am very grateful for how I was raised.
Yeah.
And I think
they be making you
but
real.
even just in terms of like, nah, y'all kind of wilding right now. But like even just in terms of like how I approach things, how like from like a maturity standpoint. And I know my siblings might have some, listen, I've grown. But like definitely like just like in how I like think of like stuff or like how I approach stuff, just like thinking about how it like kind of like from like the ways that you and mom have taught us to, I feel like that definitely has made a difference. Like
I would
positively.
say, like, from what you guys have, like, instilled in us, I do feel like we're all more mature than our age gives. Because even, like, for example, we have a 10-year gap, whatever, between, like, the youngest siblings and, like, the oldest siblings.
12.
Well, I'm talking about my gap.
Right.
Yeah. I have a 10-year gap with one of my siblings. But, like, even for that instance, I feel like, because I know some of my siblings or some of my friends who have that gap with their younger siblings, but I still feel like, for me, not to say like I was living like an older life, but sometimes I feel like I'm older than some of my friends, even though I am the youngest of all of my friends.
Definitely.
So it's just like, I feel like because of the fact that I grew up with older siblings, like my parents kind of instilled certain things in us at a very young age. Like it doesn't really like, I don't really feel like I'm as young as I am. I feel like I'm, not to say like I'm more mature than a lot of people, but I feel like I, at least emotionally, sometimes spiritually, and that's just because like we started at a very young age, but I feel like there's a different levels of maturity that like we got instilled in as a very young age. So I feel like we're kind of like not fast track, but like we kind of have like a little bit of upper hand in managing like certain life situations.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things when you said in terms of the gap not being as wide as it could, because I remember Mishy once said it feels like when you were like
when I was
felt like Michael was like a cousin
I was
or
like,
something, right?
I said I was like, this is when like Michael was like living in DC, like he was already out of like
Because
USC.
when did he leave? How old were you?
He
when left
graduated
home?
USC.
No. When he left home from high school.
Oh,
What,
she was
18,
like
6.
8. Matt?
Yeah.
No,
He's never lived at home again since then.
Yeah, so I think I said like it was like a joke, but I didn't really think about it. But I was like, oh, like it feels like he's more of an older cousin of my brother, blah blah. And my dad was like, don't say that. That could make it feel bad. Like, don't say that. But I think definitely like how much older I've gotten now, like we've definitely gotten more close, and I feel like not like, oh, he feels like a normal sibling. Like he's always been my brother for real, but it's like definitely it doesn't feel like we have that big of an age gap. Like he's looking unk, but like just like age wise, like they getting up there.
That's facts though. I feel like our age gap is a lot shorter than it is now.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean,
because
that
of
can
the
happen
mental
because you're older.
difference.
Yeah,
Between like
definitely.
18 and 30 is less than like 18 and 6.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Cause like me
Yeah,
and Mariah,
that's
the second
facts.
I started becoming,
That was pretty good math, homie.
I am an engineer for everything. I've been doing math. But like me and Mariah, when we were sharing a bathroom, she was 18, angst, and I was 12.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the second I got like older, we're cool.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I think about too is that because your mom has been very intentional on making you guys always support each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, because like
Regardless of whether we wanted to or
whether
not.
I mean, you sitting on soccer fields reading a book.
Yeah.
I
watching the game, right?
That soccer game's reading a book because I did not want to be there.
I mean, you guys
I was
having to
there,
go to
though.
every graduation, flying you guys home for all this kind of, and I think that's you know that's been important because I think that's helped you guys to kind of maintain a sense of closeness as siblings. And so, 2 questions, but the primary question is just this: bring your mic in, Mariah, so we can hear you. One of the things in terms of when you look at it now, and you guys being, you being, how much older are you than Mishael?
10 years.
10.
Okay, cool. The difference in terms of who I was as a dad and with her versus who I was as a dad with you, what would you say? Or is there a difference?
Because Mitchie got some
I
slack.
would say you're probably a better dad now, but you were more fun then.
That's a good thing. You had to learn from something.
Yeah, like definitely you were super fun. Like, and that's what I remember, especially in comparison to like you and mom. Like I will never forget the day that we all had to do our own laundry, like forevermore. Yeah, I would just say like I think having older children probably gave you perspective into what exactly you were doing when it came down to Mishy. Like what things kind of got you in what place, and you're like, okay, if I do this, then okay, if I do this, then this will happen, or if I do this, or like this might happen. Whereas I feel like with me and my brother, who's 2 years older than me, it's kind of like,
You think we were harder with you guys?
yeah, actually, I would say you were harder on us, but like I think you were like firmer or like steadier with them, if that makes sense. Like I think that there was less like ups and downs.
Well,
and,
and I
it
think
felt like there was just more like consistency, and you're just like, no, we're not going this way. Like,
me and Mom talk about this often because we prayed with you and Micah, but we prayed with them every day before they went to school.
yeah.
You
No,
know,
like,
so it
like
became-
even
it
making
was a
beds and stuff.
standard.
Like there were things
Yeah.
that we knew how to do and we did, but not with the consistency that they have.
Here's the last thing I want to ask you guys before we get out of here. And do you think, and you can kind of elaborate on it if you want to, do you think these conversations with Black fathers and their, not just their daughters, but their children are important? Why or why not?
Wait, repeat that?
Do you think conversations like this with Black fathers?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
why?
okay, all right. That might have been a softball
Should
kind of
you talk
question,
to your
right?
kid?
But
Yeah.
why? But why? Why?
Because I don't think, like, I feel like you guys talk to us a lot, and I think a lot of kids that I know didn't talk to their, because I'm like, I think because you guys would talk to us a lot, and you guys were like, oh, we're gonna come home, we're gonna tell us about your day, like da 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 da. Like people don't sit down and talk to and actively talk to their kids. I think especially, but even like, cause I guess like, cause my age bracket, kids were between like going outside and getting phones, like, but like they didn't really. A lot of kids I know didn't really talk to their parents in that capacity, or at least like feel. I don't know if their families were honest enough with them and they were honest enough with their families to talk like that, but I feel like you guys fostered honesty and what's the word? Like bluntness and like being for real, transparency, like on all levels of like as much as possible. And I feel like because of that, like now as we're an adult, like you get adults who still come to you for advice. You get kids who you get to be in contact with these three little munchkins, like with all five of them, because you talk to and you did the work to talk and understand and be a part of your kid's life as much as possible, while still allowing them to grow, because you built us all to be very independent, which I think sometimes shocks you at some points when we're just like, yeah, we can do it, and you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Like when we leave to go
Yeah.
across the country for college.
Yeah.
Across the world.
Yeah, point well taken. No, and that's always good for us. But anybody else thoughts
wait, I don't know if I was
in
done.
terms? No,
Hold
you
on.
were good. That answered the question. Anybody else?
I don't know if I was done.
Why these conversations may be important?
I think because everybody has different, like different daughters have different relationships and like sibling dynamics. So I feel like that also may make a difference, especially because like certain people may not have 4 other girls to speak to all the time, or like a brother to kind of bounce off like, hey, how was your experience with dad versus my experience with dad? Some people are only child, so it's like you have a completely different
Some don't
experience.
have two like
Exactly.
married parents. Yeah.
So it's like you have a completely different experience, and I feel like that kind of impacts the way that you grow up, the way that you kind of interact and have different like situations and experiences, and how you can like grow through those and kind of work through those. But I feel like as the person who's supposed to be your guidance kind of, and like your person that's guiding you, like leading you through life, like I feel like it's good to have them just to know. It's like kind of a checkup, like a benchmark, like, hey, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What's working? What's not? And of course, like, you know, sometimes you may not end up having that conversation until you're older, but I feel like if you never end up having that conversation, that's how certain relationships get broken, and then you just like, that's just how it was, and then it's just like, dang, I never got to, you know, fix that or like rekindle that because we never talked about it when it could have been like a simple conversation.
Fair enough. All right. Hey, y'all, thank you. I know you guys all got stuff to do. People going places and doing things, but hi, big girl. But thank you guys for coming and hanging out with me. I think it's important for, even as we have these conversations, that the energy that you see in this studio right now, this has always been the energy of our household. And sometimes it's like mad loving energy. Sometimes it's mad tension energy. But at the end of the day, we are trusting God, and we are just know that He's given us to each other, and He's given you 4 to me. And I know that when Micah came, I was thinking, okay, cool, we're gonna have some more sons. Not so much.
Hey, the next generation got you though.
You know,
The next gen, because now
but this is why
we
I
are
was
now
telling
almost,
somebody.
we are even numbered, which is
Even
upsetting.
I have just so you know, I have 1 son and 4 daughters, but I have 1 granddaughter and 4 grandsons. So yeah, it's leveled out, it's balanced.
math
But
is
anyway,
upsetting, actually.
thank you
Yeah,
for
too.
joining. Something else? Anybody else?
What was that?
Uncle Dave.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other conversation. All right, but thank you you guys for coming out, folks. What black dads think? We're looking forward to you hanging out. Well, I'm looking forward because they won't be here to you hanging out with us this season. We're gonna have a lot of great conversations, a lot of fun, a lot of informative things. I have some great guests lined up. Wherever you consume your podcast, please, pick them up. Apple Music, Spotify, wherever, we'll be there. And all that being said, I think that's it. Thank you. Peace, love. We out of here.